I am Joe Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Cloud and Security for Clarify 360 and the Chief Analyst at ClearTech Research. And we're here today with ClearTech Loop. We're on the move and in the know, and we're visiting with Ryan Lutz. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're with me. Y'all, Ryan is an AI cybersecurity researcher, and he's working on his master's in cyber at the Citadel. But Ryan's had some great hands-on experience in AI. He was a data engineer for Ag First Farm Credit Bank. And while he was at Ag First Farm Credit Bank, he created locally hosted AI solutions for 750 employees. He wrote an AI governance framework, placing controls to regulate AI efforts. He authored an AI security research paper outlining that whole process, and he created a website for documentation and to supply AI to 2,500 plus association members and 80,000 farmers. Bet y'all didn't know that farmers were using AI, but they are. They are. Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
Well, anything you want to say about your time doing that work for Ag First Farm Credit Bank? What was one of the most interesting things you learned during that role?
Definitely. Well, I'd say one of the most interesting things about that role was, using previous technologies to solve problems. So implementing AI in a way that had never been done before, providing other farmers is not something that people normally think of. So
No.
that was very exciting.
Yeah. But, it's interesting, people don't think that farmers use that much technology. But I had a chance to work with a farm equipment manufacturer many years ago, and they were very far ahead in terms of technology in their equipment. Like they had built in technology to their equipment so that farmers could see things like, what the precipitation was going to be in the field, or just all kinds of things. And we just don't generally think of ag being that tech forward, but it is.
Definitely. No, it was surprising to see. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to work there and complete that project.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into the show questions. So let me start with the first. How can cybersecurity professionals leverage generative AI to sort of break out of that traditional tools and tech mindset, and maybe to drive more innovative thinking and execution in their security programs?
Definitely, Joe. That's a great question. And, I think the real consideration there is that cyber is a very tool-driven industry. We have SIEM, we have firewalls, scanners, which is all reactive. And, that's great. But with the implementation of AI being generative, I think that we're going to see AI being used more in a way that's adaptive. So we can make decisions and we can simulate real decision making without having, the exposure and the vulnerabilities of a real person trying to, create an attack there.
Yeah. And, you're entering the job force. You've had some hands-on experience, but you're still relatively newer in your cyber career. One of the things, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, one of the things that I'm hearing from some of the seasoned cyber professionals is that AI are, especially in SOC situations, helping their teams level up. It's not only that it's pointing to the problem, it's ranking the problem and then giving them a remediation path. Any thoughts there?
Definitely. Well, I mean, one of the great things about AI is that it's able to take in a lot of information without, having a physical person sit there and parse through things. So in a setting like a SOC analyst where, you have a ton of information coming in, millions of possible attack vectors, it's very applicable to use AI in that situation because we're able to, parse through this and generate a response very quickly and more efficiently than having someone sit there and, physically do that.
But do you feel like that it's going to give less seasoned folks in the cyberspace kind of a leg up? It's going to help them advance?
Definitely. I think that, one of the great things about AI is that it's able to really apply to anyone. So I think that, people who don't have as much experience are able to use AI in more of an educational or informative way, like you just said, putting in information and then getting a response where you're able to find a solution that you normally wouldn't have seen is very helpful. But then also for more experienced people, you're able to do the same thing with saving time. So I think there's an advantage on both ends of the spectrum. Those have more experience and less. I think that there's an advantage to both.
What would you say to your peers that are worried that AI is going to take their jobs?
That's a great question, one that I've been asked a lot. And I'd say that it's like any other technology. When the internet came out, when computers first started to be a thing, it created more jobs. Like, look at how the tech industry is today. So I think that those that think that their job is going to go away, um, you know, maybe have some merit there. But I think that overall, it's just going to improve overall stability and efficiency within roles. And then, that's like those jobs aren't going to go away. Your task and day to day might change, but it's not going to go away. There's still going to be a need for that role. And then with regard to that, the increased job market within AI itself is going to be there. So there's
Right.
definitely more advantages to it.
Right, because who's going to manage non-human identities? Come on now.
Exactly.
So speaking of a balance act, CISOs think about this sometimes, and I'm wondering how you're thinking about it. How can organizations embed security and privacy controls into AI model development without sort of slowing down innovation?
Definitely. So, first and foremost, I think it's important to understand that there is a concern because with more code and with more tools, there is going to be more exposure to risk. That's just inherent. That's just how things are. But I think with the implementation of AI on a defensive standpoint is where things become very interesting. And that's part of the research that I'm doing at the Citadel with the intersection of AI and malware. So we're actually creating AI malware. And the interesting part of that is, people look at that in a negative sense. You're creating something that has a potential to harm or do bad. But at the same time, because we're in a controlled setting, in an academic setting, we're able to produce this in a way that is informative, in a way that protects people. And then at the same time, create a defensive IDS or IPS, an adaptive response to this concern. So because we're there and controlling, all aspects of it, we're able to really mitigate any risk there. But back to your question, I think that it's really just important to understand that, this is a necessary cost, that as AI becomes more and more embedded into our daily lives and into our ecosystems, it's going to be there whether we like it or not. And there is an increased risk, but there's also ways to combat this with the implementation of AI itself.
Well, first of all, what you're doing at school sounds super cool. Geez Louise, that sounds cool. Okay, last question. How should the CISO be thinking about AI adoption? And two sides of the coin, in terms of its use to secure emerging threats, but also from an organizational governance perspective, because you don't want to be the Department of No.
Definitely, that's a great question. My previous experience lies in finance and defense, so I definitely understand how there's roadblocks and hierarchy into getting things done. But I think that it's important to consider the fact that AI is coming, AI is here, and it's going to be more adopted as time goes on. So it's one of those things that it's not the cure for everything. It's not like the silver bullet. Not every facet of work needs AI, but at the same time, competition's implementing it, attackers are implementing it. So I think from all aspects, it's important to understand and consider how AI can be used in a positive way.
Great answer. Well, we'll have to have you come back and talk MCP servers or NHI, securing NHIs or something. So I'm sure you're going to be learning lots of cool stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you for your time. And we'll see y'all later.
Thank you.